Oh, hello! Looks like you found me. Thank you so much for finding your way over to hear me out. Enjoy the episode. Smooches. Salam everyone, it's me, Wally. Welcome to another episode of Hear Me Out. I want to start off by apologizing to all of you for my audio issues right now. I hope this all sounds as good as it can. My mic that I usually use for this is not working for some reason, and my other mic that I use for other stuff, like when I'm on camera, is also not working. So I'm using my headphones that have a mic attachment. So the sound probably doesn't sound as crisp as it normally would. But the past other episodes have been with guests that have also been on Zoom. So I'm sure you're used to this audio quality. But we're working through it. I promise the content will, be worth it. So please stick around. I want to thank you all for listening as well, and I want to thank all the guests that I've had for guest blogging, guest podcasting, for everything that you've all done. I so appreciate having you be part of this journey, um, and it really, really means a lot to me to have people that care enough to take the time out of their hands to read the blog, to listen to this podcast, and to be excited to be a part of it. And yeah, and that means the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Um, I also just want to say I am not doing too well right now. I am very, I've been very emotional the past week, I guess, maybe even more. Um, we'll get more into it later with the healing exercise that I did, but I kind of still feel a little hollow from it, like from my stomach up, basically. And some people were mentioning it had to do with some of the chakras, which I need to get more in tune with, and I don't know much about that right now, so we'll chat about that in the future if I learn more, or not if when I learn more. Um, yeah, so the one healing thing that I did, I guess it's normal for that for me to feel kind of hollow because I let a lot of things go, but now I have to fill that hollowness with good things, and I guess I'm having a really hard time with that because I still, I guess, at times believe that I don't deserve those good things. So I'm working through that. I'm doing my best to make sure that I retrain my brain, which these are probably all buzzwords that you have seen on my blog. But yeah, I'm just doing what I can to make sure that I stick through it and let myself feel these things and be okay with where I'm at, which is obviously, as we all know, a lot easier said than done. But we're gonna do it because we deserve it, and I deserve it, and yeah. Let's start off with talking about my last poem that I posted, poem number 4, called "Growing Up." I wanted to make it so clear that I wrote this in 2015 and not extremely recently because I didn't want anyone to worry about me or anything. Because this is not exactly where I'm at right now. I personally feel very sorry for this person, where he was at that moment in time. Um, I wanted to make sure that I had the trigger warning or content warning because I definitely don't want to trigger anyone and hurt anyone during this process. I just want to be as honest as possible with everyone and make sure that I show my true self, not only for your everyone else's sake because I don't want to lie to everyone, but also for my own sake because I think that that's how I will heal and become a better person and become more of the person that I'm meant to be. Um, so yeah, I that's why I shared this poem. It was very hard for me to share this poem. Sharing my own poetry in general is a very hard thing for me because it is so personal, and I write those in, most of the poetry I write, as I'm sure most um, people can relate to, is when I am feeling either super happy or super sad or angry or whatever I'm feeling in that moment. Um, and because I usually don't like to express any emotion except for happiness out in the world, or sometimes sadness, and I'm either, laughing and smiling, or I'm just crying and bawling my eyes out. Every other emotion I pretty much suppress. So I wanted to, so when I'm feeling those emotions, I like to write about that, whether it be in poem form, paragraph form. Sometimes I don't usually, like, it doesn't always have a specific structure, or I'll, write a script about it, or whatever the situation is. Um, so this poem, I wrote in 2015 when I was in acting school, and these feelings that I was feeling were a lot, and at times debilitating, but they were honest, and that's what I was feeling, and I had to get them out so that I didn't do any harm, to myself or others. I don't think I would have ever done any harm to others, at least not physically, and not consciously, because I have never been that kind of person. But I guess who knows, when something catches up to you, you can do things that you don't think you are going to do. Anyway, this poem is super raw, and a lot of the things that I'm finding out about my traumas and whatever, what I say, I'm still doing it to myself, where I'm, diminishing what I'm feeling, and I'm trying to retrain my brain for that. Anyway, a lot of things that I'm feeling, or my traumas in the past, um, have had to do with certain things that I've heard other people say about me, especially people close to me, um, that I think should have been there for me. Um, they would say certain things, and I would hear it so often that I started to believe them and take them on as my own. And that wasn't fair to myself. That wasn't fair to that child to hear those things in the first place, but also for to let it get to me, to believe it, to start to take that on as my own. That wasn't fair. But at this point, all I can do is make sure that I try to retrain my brain and my emotions and feelings, and let myself know that it's okay to feel those things, and that it's okay that it's okay that I've gone through those things, and move past it as much as I can and work through it, because pushing them down further is definitely not going to help. And I think that's a lot of why I've been feeling so emotionally exhausted and drained these past few weeks, because I haven't dealt with them ever. So dealing with them now is very hard, especially because it's so much all at once. I feel like it's, one of those cans with where the snakes come out and scares people. That's how I feel right now, and you can't, close the can back up. Um, but yeah, so this poem is was very raw, and but it was super honest, and I needed to share that with everyone, because these are things that I was feeling, and I want to make sure that I'm not just glossing over all the bad, and sharing just the positive, because that's not what this blog is about. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I'm being as honest with all the negative as well as the positive. Um, and most of the poems that I've shared in the past have all been super lighthearted, and so I wanted to make sure that this one was, or so I wanted to make sure that I also was sharing all the negatives as well, um, because that's a part of me, and that's what I've gone through, and that's, part of this whole journey. So I don't know how much else I can say about this poem without basically crying. Which, if I did, I wouldn't, judge myself for that, because this would be the place to do it, because it would be honest. Anyway, let's move on to the next blog post, which was the future of my past. Um, I am sure, as you have realized by now, the kind of person that likes to be liked. So when I'm not liked, it takes a really big toll on me. And I know that I should not care. I know that I should just be who I am 100% of the time. And if someone doesn't like it, then that's not really something I should be worried about unless I'm hurting people, you know. Um, if I am a good person and if someone else doesn't like my personality or anything, then it doesn't really matter because that's them and they don't deserve me to have me in their life and vice versa. Um, so I'm really trying hard to make sure that I start to believe that more and more every single day. Um, but it's hard because I am a people pleaser and I like to be liked. I like to make people happy and smile. So when I don't do, any of those things or any combination of those things, it takes a toll on me. So being bullied for the things that I thought were good things about myself or that I didn't even think about, for example, like, you know, hanging out with the people that I hung out with. To me, that didn't make sense when I was growing up, and I mean, it doesn't make sense to this day either. But especially then, I was like, why is this wrong? Why am I being judged for just being myself? Um, and I still feel like that little kid is trying to figure that out, and I'm still that little kid trying to figure that out, and I'm trying to push past those feelings and make sure I do my best to stay true to the even younger version of myself that I mentioned in this post. Because when I was 6 or 7, for example, I had no care in the world, and even um, if something negative happened, I wouldn't blame myself for it. But now, no matter what happens, and even if I know it's not my fault, I still blame myself for it. I'm like, I think, oh, maybe if I was there, I could have, fixed the situation or made sure that it didn't happen. And I take on that responsibility and blame, and that's on me. Like, it's not anyone else making me feel that way, especially not in these moments. I think it has a lot to do with people that have made me feel that way in the past, but I still hold on to that a lot, and I need to let that go. Um, and I'm working on it a lot. For example, there was a day where I was at work and something wasn't done, I guess, the day before. It wasn't even a big thing, but like someone just mentioned it and be like, oh, this wasn't done, so I had to do it this morning, blah, blah, blah. Not even being like, oh my God, it was such a big deal, but it was just like, to me, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, like I should have done it. And then they were like, you weren't even here yesterday. And it just like was like, oh my God, you're right, I wasn't here yesterday, so why am I trying to take on that responsibility? But in my brain, the first thing for me to do in that moment was to be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's my fault. Please forgive me. Please still like me. I won't do it ever again. Like, I don't know why I think that way, and I'm really trying hard to change that narrative in for my own sanity. Um, and it's been a hard journey for that. Um, so going back to this exact blog post, feeling like um, the way that I am is not okay or being judged for virtually no reason because I wasn't really hurting anyone by being myself, by, liking things that were quote unquote too feminine or having friends that were quote unquote all girls. Like, how does that really affect anyone? It doesn't. And all the people that made me think that it did are wrong because I was just expressing myself in the way that I thought was best, in the way that I was just literally trying to live my life and be who I was. So it took a huge toll on me clearly, and it really changed my perspective on how to take on life and how to be around other people and who to become. So I changed a lot of myself. I tried to become something that I thought people wanted, and not realizing that there are so many people that appreciate who I am, that there are so many people that love the light that I bring into the world, and I'm I keep getting reminded of that, and I so appreciate everyone that has been doing that, because I need to start to believe it for myself. I need to say those things to myself, um, because it's one of those things where you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped, and I want to be helped, and I want to not believe those things. I just don't know how, because for so long I've told myself that I didn't deserve that help because I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think I was deserving, and I thought that other people deserved that help and to be happy more than I did, which is a very hard thing to put myself through, and also not necessary. I shouldn't do that to myself, but I did, and I do, and I'm just trying to work through that, and make sure that I don't continue to do that forever, because it would break my heart to hear someone else say that to themselves, that they didn't deserve to be happy or healthy, um, whether I was close to them or not. So I need to make sure that I feel for myself in that sense, and um, also care about myself, care for myself, and worry about myself as well, and not just everyone else in the world. Um, and change the narrative of thinking that it's selfish, because it's not selfish. I'm just doing what I can to survive, and if that means taking a little bit more time for myself, that's okay. I'm not hurting anyone else by doing that. I need to stop thinking that I'm a selfish person for doing the things that I want to do, and that everyone needs me to be around them 24/7. Yes, I like to be liked, and yes, I like to feel needed, but I need to change why that is. I need to not be I need to not feed off of just that. I need to make sure that I'm feeding off of my own energy and making sure that I'm happy, and that I'm not just relying on everyone else to make me feel like I'm a good person. So that's what I'm working on, and making sure that I do what I can to go back to the person that I was meant to be, as a child. I truly believe that then, so I'm doing my best to make sure that I believe that now. All right, I think that we should move on to the next blog post that I had, which was no more holding on. Um, this obviously goes in very much in line with what I've been talking about during this whole episode, which is holding on to things that I hold on to, or sorry, letting go of things that I hold on to, because that's not serving me anymore. It never really served me. I thought it did, and I thought that me holding on to all of these things was good for me in some sort of way, but it's not. Holding on to resentment and um, what other people, what the people that made me believe that I was such a bad person or anything like, or stuff like that, is not healthy for me. It's not healthy for anyone around me, and I need to stop believing those things. As I mentioned in this post, dealing with trauma is definitely not easy, because I'm sure a lot of us would rather just not think about it, and pretend like it's not there. But I don't think that that's the best way to go about it, because it's not helping you in any way. It's hindering you, and that's, as much as it is for other people. Like, as much as I'm saying that to other people, I'm saying it to myself as well, um, because it's not good for me to pretend like none of that trauma exists, and just get triggered by little things, but keep it to myself forever and come home and cry myself to bed because I feel like I can't express those things. That's not true. I can express them, and I need to believe that I'm not going to be judged for being the person that I am and for feeling emotions. Um, it's okay to feel these emotions. It's okay to go through what you're going through. Obviously, making sure that it's appropriate. I mentioned that as well, that I'm not like gonna burst out into tears or um, scream at anything during work because that's not appropriate, and I know that. Keeping your personal and professional side separate is good at times, or most of the time. But it's okay to come home and realize what you're feeling, and realize that it's okay to feel those things, and um, work through it, not push past it. Um, I think that I've heard that a lot in the past, that we just push past things, blah blah blah. But I don't think that that's necessarily the healthiest thing to do. We shouldn't push past it. We should work through it, because if we're pushing past it, then we're just ignoring the actual issues instead of really understanding what's going on and helping ourselves be a better human, which I think that everyone should strive to do. Um, Not to change who they are necessarily, but to become a better version of themselves. I think that growing is something that we should never stop doing, um, because we become stagnant. And I think that we all need to be okay with learning and unlearning things about the world, about ourselves, about everyone around us, because that's part of life. Um, no one is the same person forever, um, unless they're already at their peak, unless they're already in terms of who they're actually meant to be. But I don't think that I don't think that you ever stop learning, and I don't think that you ever stop growing, um, because you can be 100% yourself and still learn new things, and still um, you know learn things about the world that will shape you more and more and more. That's okay. I also want to reiterate the fact that it's okay do to be on this kind of a journey, no matter where you are in your life, no matter how old you are. A lot of us, I'm sure, put so much emphasis on being at a certain time and place in our life at different ages, when we don't need to do that, because everyone's journey is different, and that's okay. Everyone's life is different. We all go through different things, and it's not fair of ourselves to make ourselves think that we don't deserve to have those moments, to think that we don't deserve to what work through what we're going through in those moments. That's doesn't make any sense to me, because it's not like we're all turn 18 and all of a sudden we know exactly what we want to do for the rest of our lives. I think that pressure that we put on ourselves and that society puts on us is not okay. um, and I don't think that once you're quote unquote 30 that you should be married with kids and be with a man and a wife and all that. Like that, no, that doesn't make any sense to me, because the world isn't that simple, and that's a good thing. If everything was so you know black and white, then there would be no, it would just be so boring. I'm sorry, like it would. I don't think that, like, and that's why we all have different personalities, and that's why we all have different journeys, and that's what life is all about, is realizing what your journey is and going through it and making sure that you're doing your best to be the best version of yourself, and learning what you can to make sure that you do that for yourself and not others. Don't try to live your life for others, because that's not going to serve you. Um, don't try to change who you are for others, because that's not going to serve you. Um, just make sure that you're not hurting anyone, and being the healthiest and happiest version of yourself that you can be, because we all deserve that healthiness and we all deserve that happiness. And that's not to say, obviously, that it's that you should be happy 100% of the time, and never have a sad moment or never have any other emotion, because that's unrealistic and it's not what I'm preaching at all. I want us to all be okay with having those moments of uncertainty and having those moments of negative emotions that aren't 100% what we want to present to the world all the time, because that's realistic and that's what we are going through. But just don't be too hard on yourselves. I think I've been sounding very monotone this whole episode, but that's just also a reality. I'm not gonna fake putting on a voice because that would just not be real and honest, and I don't want to do that. I just want to be in the moment that I'm at and share how I'm feeling, and I think that I am doing that. So please, um, understand that, I guess. And I think what I wrote to in the last paragraph of this blog post, I don't know if I've heard that before or if it just came to me in the moment. That's why I put it in quotes, because I didn't want to, be plagiarizing or taking something away from someone that, isn't my own thoughts. I somehow came into my brain that was like, we all got to relive it to relieve it, um, which was like kind of an aha moment for me because of how I am as a person. I suppress a lot, or I have suppressed a lot in the past, and just letting it go isn't as easy as just not thinking about it. I have to bring it up and realize why I felt that way or why I went through those moments to be able to push it onto universe and be like, that happened, and maybe it wasn't fair, and maybe I shouldn't have heard that from um, people that I thought should care about me, or whatever the situation is, or I shouldn't have done that to myself even, or I shouldn't have made myself believe those things. Whatever the trauma is that we're dealing with, we have to think back at why it happened, where the catalyst was, and how we dealt with it, and realize how we can do better in the next time, or what we can say to others that would change that. Um, and sometimes it's out of our control, and that's okay as well. And we also have to realize those moments, and then just try to do our best to make sure that we aren't holding on to it forever, because the only person we're truly hurting is ourselves. Um, and I don't know about all of you, but I definitely picture myself having a partner in the future, and I don't want to be half Wally when I meet that person or people or whatever the situation is. So I want to make sure that I'm healthy and happy for myself, and that I'm presenting the best version of myself to the world, um, and to my partner in the future. Whenever that happens, I'm not gonna put pressure on myself to, find that person so quickly, because that too, like, I've heard so many people um, tell me that I need to, have had someone by this age. Um, and I have done that to myself in the past, but I don't believe that anymore, that I should have one person that I'm meant to be with right in this exact moment. I think that we meet certain people in our lives at certain points in our lives who are meant to either teach us lessons or um, bring out a new side of ourselves. And once that person is not a part of your life anymore in any capacity that they were or whatever, we need to look back at it and realize the things that we did that were good and bad, and what we learned and what we could have done better, and vice versa. Um, and just learn about ourselves. And and for the next person that we meet, whether it's a romantic relationship or a sexual one, or just a friendship, any kind of a relationship, because every person you meet is a relationship, or has a relationship with you in any capacity that it is. Not every person that you are in a relationship with has to be romantic or sexual or any of that in that nature. Um, so anyway, I think that we need to be kinder to ourselves in that respect and make sure that we are doing our best to be our best, and um, finding that person or people or anything is going to happen when it happens. We need to make sure that we're not putting pressure on ourselves. And also, you might not have that one person in the world, um, or two people. Whatever you want in the world isn't going to happen until it's meant to happen, and um, it's not going to happen as well or as good as it can unless we are at our best, unless we can be okay with being okay or being alone. We're not going to be happy in any kind of relationship. So just I'm going to do my best to make sure that I'm okay with being myself and being by myself, um, being happy by myself, and liking my own company before I can enjoy the company of others, because that's gonna only make me a better partner, make me a better person, and that's really important. Um, yeah, I think that that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm sure I rambled on a lot as always, but everything I said was necessary, I think, and what I was feeling in the moment, and that can't be wrong, right? Anyway, I just want to thank you all for listening. This was probably the hardest one for me to record so far. Even when I'm not feeling extremely motivated, or whatever I'm writing about is hard to write about, it is in a sense easier to write it than to speak out loud about certain things. So I hope that everything I said made sense. And if anyone needs any clarification, or if you have any things you want to share with me, please, please, please do. Don't hesitate. Um, I want to thank the people that are in my life that have helped me with all this whole journey. The people that are continuing to be in my life, even though I'm not necessarily the happy out loud person that a lot of people have come to know. Um, I want to not apologize, but I hope this gives you an insight on why I'm the way that I am recently. Um, I'm just trying to make sure that I, fill that hollowness with good things, and making myself, or helping myself believe that I do deserve to be loved, and I deserve to be happy and appreciated. Um, so yeah, thank you so much for um, telling me these things as well. For anyone that has been, um, it's not, you don't have to do that. You don't have to take your time out of your day to make me feel better about myself, or make me believe the things that I should be believing anyway. But I so, so, so appreciate it. From the bottom of my heart, you'd have no idea how much it means to me to have such amazing people in my life. All my coworkers, my bosses, my roommate, and her daughter have been so wonderful. Um, and my friends as well outside of work. I'm like, I can't believe. I mean, I can believe it because I'm amazing. I so appreciate all of you being in my life. I also just want to thank once again Josie for making the amazing artwork. Um, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And please, please, please like this podcast. Share the blog with people. Subscribe to the YouTube for this blog. Subscribe to Apple Podcasts with this podcast. Review the podcast, please, because I would so, so, so appreciate that. It would mean the world to me if you shared this and the blog with anyone in the world that you think would resonate with anything. Um, thank you, everyone, for finding me and for hearing me out. I hope everyone stays gorgeous, and smooches.